Hi, so this is Max, and he will be telling us about his first experience taking the IB final exams. Is there any reason in particular that made you choose this example?
Well, yes, my first IB exam was really stressful and really nervous for me. I felt like there was such an important thing towards my educational career that it was worth mentioning.
Can you tell me the details?
Well, of course, my first IB exam was on psychology. I was really nervous for this because it was the first time I was faced with an IB exam. If I failed this, then my entire year's worth of working is going down the drain.
That sounds really stressful. Was it the fact that it was your first time taking it that affected you?
Well, of course, I haven't been this nervous for any test in my entire life, and I didn't know how strict the proctors were gonna be or how tense the situation was gonna be. And most importantly, I didn't know how difficult the exam was gonna be.
So, how did it go?
Well, it didn't go as well as I hoped. I spent the first 15 minutes and I couldn't work at all because I was stressed. I was sweating so much and my hands couldn't grab a hold of my pencil. I forgot a lot of the information I tried to remember and ended up with like an IB4, which is just barely past the grade.
I think it's your emotions that got the better of you. Can you describe to us a little bit more about the different emotions that you felt?
I mostly felt scared and nervous because the situation was so tense and the stakes were so high.
Well, were there any other things that influenced your behavior?
Well, yes, I believe that both emotion and my sense perception, or the two ways of knowing, are really influenced my behavior at that time.
Well, just for the people who don't know what we're talking about, would you like to clarify to people what the ways of knowing are?
Well, claims of our knowings are based on ways of knowing, or in other words, how do we know what we claim to know? The different ways of knowing are reasoning, perception, emotion, and language.
Explain a little bit more about the two ways of knowing that you mentioned earlier, which was emotion and sense perception.
Emotion is used in a broad sense to include things such as feeling and passion and your mood. However, the primary emotions all include happiness, sadness, fear, anger, surprise, and lastly, disgust.
What about perception?
Perception is defined as our awareness of things around us through our five senses, which is sight, sound, touch, smell, and taste.
Well, back to your example, is there anything that you could change if you were to take the exam again?
Well, there was many things I would like to change, but then let's first answer is how were we able to control my emotions so therefore that would affect my behavior, which is occasionally our knowledge issue. Because as we all know, emotions plays a huge role in affecting our behavior. It's our knowledge claim.
Well, what different emotions do you think you felt when you took the exam?
Well, let's see. I surely felt really nervous, very, very nervous. I also felt scared and worried. All negative informations, really.
Do you know why and how you were experiencing these
Well,
emotions?
Of course, we're going to explain this by using the James Lang theory, where he's saying that an event occurs acting as a stimulus, and then physiological reaction, such as getting scared and jumping, and then leading to a corresponding emotion, such as fear or something, leading to our action of jumping away, then our awareness of the emotion and state that we're in and our perceptual take. These are the different stages of realizing then feeling emotion. An example could be that you're walking down a really dark street in the middle of the night, and this could be picked up through your perception that you can see it's dark, you can like sense that you're all alone, but then that triggers your mental map to see that you're in a dark street, and you could associate that with like a dangerous situation where somebody could come attack you, and then resulting in your physical reaction of your heart racing faster, and then you're starting to sweat, and then it gradually walk faster and faster, and then your body starts realizing all these symptoms, and then your physical attributes resulting in your realization that you're essentially feeling fear.
Could you adapt that a little more to your real life situation?
Well, of course. At first, in my exam, I first sent that, and like through my sense perception, I felt like I was walking into the exam room, and that the tension was really tense, and then the proctors was really stressed out as they pace around the room, and then my palms started to sweat, and then my body started realizing that I'm in a state of nervousness and fear.
Well, did you try to control your emotions after that?
Well, of course, I tried really hard to control my emotions, And then I tried it through breathing as I try to slow down my heart rate, and then which could like my body could pick up that my heart rate slower, so maybe I could be less nervous.
So after you've calmed down, did you feel like you did a little better on the exam?
Well, we can also see that emotion affects our memory. As of course, I felt I did a little bit better comparing my paper 2 and paper 1 where I was much less nervous then. But then we an example of how emotion is also affected by our memory is that Clyde's Waring, how he has the worst case of amnesia with only around 7 to 30 seconds of memorization. Even with this, he still remembers how to walk, how to play the piano, and eventually and then because he because he has very strong emotional attachment to them.
Well, emotional attachment, just such as what?
Clyde Waring, for the same example, is that he has emotional attachment to his playing his piano. He has a passion for that, and that even though he has the worst case of amnesia, which affects his hippocampus and he couldn't remember anything, he still has that borderline memory of playing the piano as he loved it so much, and also that he doesn't remember anybody except his wife because he loves his wife very much. So he doesn't remember anything but except for basic things as walking and playing the piano and his wife. Well, in conclusion, I felt like emotion and perception are the two of the strongest ways of knowing, and that really influenced my behavior during the test. This statement can also be supported by the Yerkins-Dodson law.
Before you leave, can you clarify to us what the Yerkes-Dodson law is?
Of course, the law indicates that performance increase with physiological or mental arousal, but only up to a point where when levels of arousal become too high, performance decreases, which could be in my case that I felt too much mentally and physiological problems before the exam, which caused my performance to decrease.
Mm. Well, thank you very much for your time, showing us a knowledge issue and a knowledge claim, explaining different theories and the different ways of knowing.
You're welcome.
Goodbye.